I'm not the bad guy for sending my sister's father-in-law a loud message and interfering with her married life. Alright, well, I've got an embarrassing conflict that I'd rather not present to my friends. So I'll need the anonymous power of you giving strangers to help me out. My sister got married in late April. I've been hanging out with her father-in-law, Thomas, ever since. It's not like we're seeing each other on the daily, just every other weekend or so. We grab drinks or just hang out at his home, nothing nefarious. Still, I've never brought it out to my sister because it's never came up. Last night, we were hanging out like we usually do. I'm typically in charge of playing music for us, and Cyber Sex by Doja Cat came on the playlist I had queued up. Thomas was amused by the lyrics and was asking me where I found the song. It was a funny moment. We move on. I left after a while. This morning, when I woke up, I sent him a text along with a link to this song as a joke. Turns out my sister and her husband were visiting at this point, and my brother-in-law was in the middle of looking at something on Thomas' phone when the message came through. Apparently, it caused a huge stir and resulted in brother-in-law confronting his father about the whole thing. My sister called me later and asked why I was sending their father-in-law loud messages or hanging out with him at all. I tried to explain the situation like I did here, that he and I grab drinks and catch up occasionally after finding things in common during her wedding weekend, but it hasn't gone well. I'm starting to feel guilty about the whole thing because she said I was interfering with her married life. So I'm lost now. What do you think? I'm not the bad guy for lashing out at my family for calling my fiance my second wife. Years ago, I was married to a close friend. We were roommates, adopted the dog together, and lived together since college until our mid-late 20s. Married at 24 and 25. However, we were never actually romantically involved. She was not interested in marriage and also questioning her sexuality at the time, but her family was ultra-traditional and messy for many other reasons and kept pushing for her to settle down. I had just gotten out of a road long-term relationship and we kind of just both said, freak it off. Just basically, we're kind of living like a married couple. Let's get married for convenience. So we did the paperwork for it, but we never had a wedding. We were also never romantically involved. She just was not my type and I was not hers. My family knew she wasn't my wife in the traditional sense. They did heavily disapprove though. When I started getting back into the dating scene, we split up and legally divorced. She reminds one of my close friends to this very day, and I care for her a lot. It's been a few years, and I'm now 32 with a lovely fiance who I cannot wait to marry. However, ever since I announced the engagement, my family has been making weird comments like, "Oh, so Roxy's, my dog, is getting a new stepmom. Wife number 2 at 32? Huh, that's a lot of wives for your age. So let's hope the second one lists." It makes both me and my fiancé uncomfortable. I keep on saying that my close friend wasn't really my wife in the traditional scene, but my family brushes me off by saying that they're just joking, or she's technically my second wife anyway, so it's not like they're wrong. Today at my breakfast though, I blew up at them and called them disrespectful and rude for belittling my relationship. My mom and my sister both said that if I didn't want to hear the statements, I shouldn't have married my close friend. I threatened not to invite them to the wedding, and now things are super tense. So I would like to answer some questions. Why marry my close friend? Health insurance, mostly, but also because they kept holding her tuition over her head. We were both in grad school at the time. She was going for a PhD. I was going for a master's, but I had a job in an energy commission with some benefits. They'd always tell her that they'd stop sending her money or not send her money at all. They used money to punish her, basically. She had a lot of health issues at the time that she couldn't get help for, like chronic pain and wisdom teeth that really needed to be removed, alongside some other personal issues. So, getting married got them off her back about her sexuality, got her on my health insurance plan, and got them to be more consistent on sending tuition money for her. There were a few other things too, like how they kept setting up potential arranged marriage for her or threatening to take her home to the country. There was also a time where they threatened to have her committed to a mental health facility. At the time, she was also really reluctant on letting me help her beyond minor things, because she felt like it was something she had to repay. So, between us, it also gave me an excuse to help her. I would be like, hey, it's what you're supposed to do, right? Even though we both agreed that our marriage was a farce. I think it did something for her psychologically to accept that we had a legally blinded relationship where I could help her. I don't know, it was complicated, but it was something that worked for us. I was able to pay for her treatment and let her use my money for herself. She has now graduated and is financially stable. To my knowledge, she no longer speaks with most of her family. She doing amazing for herself, and I'm so damn proud of her. So my fiance knows about my past marriage and has no issue with it. I met her through my close friend, actually as a mutual. At the time, I was already split from my house friend, and while she was initially confused, me and my close friends both sat her down and explained things as clearly as possible. She understands why we did what we did. So, my family. I was always 100% transparent with my family and my marriage with my close friend. My family understood that I went through a road relationship before my marriage. I think my mom's exact words at the time were, I won't force you to do anything, but I'm already disappointed that you take marriage so lightly. They understood that I married my close friends to help her, but I also get the slight impression that they figured everything will sort itself with our marriage. I will fall in love with her or something. My aunts and uncles didn't see much else than they were disappointed that they couldn't attend a real wedding. When I met my fiance, I told them how it was a big deal to me that it was my first genuinely supportive romantic relationship in a long time. At the time, they all seemed happy for me, and no comments like this came up. They told me they were glad I was able to find love again. It was only when we announced the engagement that those comments started. So I'm not the bad guy here. What do you think? I'm not the bad guy for not feeding my husband because he caused me to have an allergic reaction. He technically didn't cause an allergic reaction, but he pushed me into it. I'm allergic to a plant that lives in the state my husband and I have moved to. We aren't sure which plant yet, but are narrowing it down kinda. My doctor has told me not to do any yard work whatsoever because I have an allergic reaction every time. Full body, rash and swollen joints for a little week. Wearing gloves and protective clothes has not helped. My husband knows all of this. Yesterday he moved and pressured me into helping him retake up grass and weeds. I didn't want to, and I mentioned that I could have an allergic reaction, but he said that he needed help and that I will be fine. Against my better judgment, I thought that if I just rake it and didn't physically touch anything, I will be fine. I didn't want to refuse him when he insisted. Today, I have a rash all over and a lot of swelling and I feel like shit. Normally, I meal prepare for the next week on Sundays. This morning, I have asked threw me some salads in Tupperware for next week and call it a day. I eat a lot of easy stuff that doesn't require cooking, so that's fine. My husband, on the other hand, eats like 15 pounds of meal every week as well. It usually takes me hours to cook his food, and it's very draining. I told him he needs to cook his food for the next week because I'm too tired and my skin feels awful. He got mad and said he'd just eat takeout since he had to relax on his last day off. So now I have to freeze all the meat so it doesn't go to waste. He only cooks once or twice a year. He thinks it's not fair for me to not feed him since I agreed to retake it, and it isn't his fault I had an allergic reaction. I'm not trying to punish him, but I'm really suffering right now, and I just don't have it in me. I also do think it wasn't fair for him to pressure me into doing something he knows I medically shouldn't do. So I'm at the bad guy for not feeding my husband. I'm the bad guy for killing my friend's pet spider. I went over to one of my newest friend's house for a sleepover the other day. For a bit of background, I absolutely hate spiders. I have had a horrible fear of them ever since I was a child. Anyway, my friend, we call him Jake, has a pet tarantula, and I informed him I do not like spiders and to not play any type of games with me due to my major arachnophobia. Anyways, the night is great, and we watched the first 3 Scream movies, and everything is going great until I start getting ready for bed. We were setting up our beds. We both agreed to sleep in separate ones, and he said he needs to go grab some water for us and left me alone in the room. The cage was in his room, and I quickly glanced over at it and didn't see him. I didn't think much of it, but then Jake went back into the room and he handed me the water. But as he did, at the bottom of the cup his spider was waiting for me. I screamed as I threw the cup across the room. Then Jake rushed after the spider, saying that I had killed it. My heart drops as I realized what I had just done. Jake starts screaming at me, says it was just a prank and I overreacted. I said that he should have never done that to me, and he's taking my fear as a joke. He then said that I needed to leave and proceed to kick me out of his house. I called him a bad guy, which was wrong of me, but I was very upset. His mother then gave me some money to cab home. It was like 12 a.m. and my mom was asleep. And the day after I tried calling messaging him but no answer. I feel terrible and don't know what to do, so I'm the bad guy here. I'm the bad guy for blowing up on my sister after she told the doctors my secrets and destroyed my future. Me in my second year of medical school out of 7 years program, and my sister 28 work as a social worker, so she doesn't have any good background or medicine. Back when I was in high school, I used to be depressed and I used drugs as an escape form. And the only one that knows about my bad backgrounds is my sister. Also, about a month ago, I had an epileptic seizure out of the sudden, and I didn't really my conscious. As a result, my sister looked me immediately to the ER, and I was straightened and discharged. Yesterday, I was in a hospital as a medical student and decided to open up my life and to read what the doors wrote about my case. And then I found it that my sister literally told them everything, that I was using drugs in high school and I was depressed, and it was all documented. I called my sister and blew up on her, and that she destroyed my future as a physical because of what she said, and she told me I was a bad guy. She panicked. Then she thought that they will lose me. So, what do you think? I'm the bad guy for not having kids at my wedding. My fiance have blocked our wedding 2 years ago for next year. We have 5 children between us, and we have said only them and his niece will be the only children at our wedding. Everyone knows this and have said no problem, and are looking forward to a day celebrating without having to worry about their children. My friend can be a bit of the nightmare and not accept an answer to something until she gets the one she wants. It's common knowledge within our friends and family not to ask me anything when I've had a drink, because I will just say yeah without thinking and draw. We was round hers having a few drinks, and she again asked if her eldest, 2 years old, could come to the evening. Her reasoning was they could pay with my kids, and they're the same age as my eldest, and might have trouble finding a sitter. Without thinking, I went yeah. The next day, I remember what happened, so me and her fiance said, we are really sorry, but what I like. I have been told so many times that you kids can come and that still stands. She got really nasty and sad, saying, what if I get a sitter? My fiancé said, well, then I guess you can come. It's a wedding, not a play date, so they will not be playing around, and we have told our people when I have asked they can bring the kids, so they can stay not to. But he's to you. The children she's talking about are all teenagers, and it's valid to say my kids don't like her and always moan when we get all together. My children have already asked for a friend each to come in the evening, and we've said no. I'm not getting message from my friends going from guilt tripping me to being abusive. So I'm at the begging for going back saying no after I accidentally split it up and said you despite my previously saying no plenty of times. Just an adding couple of moments seeing concerned that I could drink that much and not be in control. I don't actually drink that much. It was my fiancé's birthday and we had gone out with all the kids, so I let loose for one night. Years ago when I was younger, I drank a bit more and friends will say, let book and holiday or connect and would go, yeah, okay. Then next day they will find a text to say, do you still want to do that? And I will say yes or no. I've never been in this situation where I've had blackouts or not being in control due to having a few drinks. Even her partner said he didn't take my answer seriously. I just said it to stop her from nagging me. So what do you think? Am I the bad guy for telling my sister's boyfriend the truth about her allergy? My sister and I live in different territories. She lives 4,000 kilometers south of her, so a 2-day drive or 4 and 5 hours flight away. We try to have a visit at least once a year. This time, she brought her boyfriend to visit. I've never met him in person, only over video call. She says they are kind of living together. I stayed in my room, guest room, on the 6th day of their stay here. Her boyfriend had a freak on me because I was preparing a meal for us and he saw I had a food in my kitchen that sister is allergic. I put allergic in quotes because she isn't allergic to anything. Her boyfriend thought she was. She told him she has a deadly allergic to a certain food. She went so far as to pursue EpiPens and wear a medical bracelet. She had told him stories about almost dying from accidentally or anything eating this food when we were kids. Her boyfriend was angry. I had it in my kitchen and I did not clean my husband. I had it in my kitchen and did not clean my kitchen and cooking utensils before the visit, which I would have done if my sister was really allergic, but she isn't. She hates it, but she isn't allergic, and to me there is a big difference. If there was even chance my sister was allergic, I wouldn't have it in my kitchen. I told her boyfriend the truth, that my sister hates it, but she's not allergic, that she's always hated the food. Now she's furious at me, now that I had the food item she hates in my kitchen because I like it, but I wasn't putting in any meal for my sister because I know she hates. I'm not removing my food from house just because she hates it true. She's furious that I told him the truth. She argued with me. Her boyfriend argued with her. The last day and a half of their visit was awkward. From what I got from my sister, she started telling everyone she was allergic when she went to university, so she wasn't have to eat it. I was already in uni here, so I didn't know she was telling people this. Our parents were divorced and we live with my mom. Dad lives on the other side of the country, 3,700 kilometers away. We did see him, but mom was the two did everything for us. Our relationship with dad is better since mom passed, but dad, his wife, and his sister, well, not no, my sister had an allergy, and we'll take her word for it. Her boyfriend has met them as the three of them are my sister's only family besides me. Basically, my sister says I should have gone along with her lie and not told her boyfriend the truth. She says the difference between hating and allergy is small and I couldn't have told him. She is furious at me. Was I wrong to tell him the truth? What do you think?